there's levels of positioning that God can do in your life if you're willing. The more that we talk about this and talk about how the marketplace is shifting and God's desire to prosper his people, the more I'm seeing if Christians don't get this, I think there's a lot of people who are going to be hurting in the next handful of years. That's not to put fear in anybody really at all, because even in the midst of crazy economic circumstances, God fed Elijah with the ravens. So we got to remember, like, God is sovereign over everything. But at the same time, I think there's levels of positioning that God can do in your life if you're willing that will help you weather storms a lot better. An example of that's like Joseph, right? When Joseph interpreted Pharaoh's dream, you guys go read the story back in Genesis, but Joseph is interpreting Pharaoh's dream. Pharaoh had this dream of like 7 fat cows and these 7 skinny cows, and that represented 7 years of plenty and then 7 years of famine. And the idea was, hey, God in his mercy was actually preparing the people for the 7 years of famine. And so they had to put together a strategy to save up and make sure that they had enough resource so that when the 7 years of famine came, that they didn't have to go through an unnecessary amount of suffering. Because suffering's important, it's part of the walk, but sometimes we bring on more suffering than we need to because we're not walking wisely. God's people are destroyed for a lack of knowledge. It's not that they're destroyed because they have knowledge, they're destroyed for a lack of it. And what I see happening, particularly with like AI and how quickly the marketplace is moving, and even just the acceleration of end time events, there's gonna be a massive widening between the gap between the poor and the rich. And what's crazy too is, like, I don't think it's just the rich people getting richer. I think people who have been poor, who have played their cards right, are actually going to come out on top with this advancement of technology. But people who have been chilling, even people who have had really cushy jobs and making a lot of money, if they're not paying attention to where the market is going, they could actually get caught slipping. So it's going to be this crazy shuffle of the deck. And I just want to see as many believers as possible be well positioned.